genre labels are useful up to a certain degree, but if people can just be autonomous and like singular in what they do, I think that would be sick. Like sometimes if something is good, you won't find anything else like that, and there's nothing wrong with it. Just enjoy that thing for what it is.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Jesse Nyberg Podcast. Today I'm here with Intra, YouTuber, 3D artist, super talented. I've been following her on YouTube for a little bit. I'm really excited to chat. So how are you doing?
Very well, very well. It's like 11 p.m. here. I'm currently in Newcastle in the UK. So it's yeah, my brain is like half functioning right now, but we're gonna get through this.
Yeah, the setup looks a little bit different than from your videos. Is it like a new area you're in?
I'm trying to I like filming videos in random places. So I just came back from a 1-month holiday in Italy, and I filmed like a tutorial in a mountain, on my plane journey back, on trains, on balconies, on platforms, like train platforms. So like those will come out soon when I put them together. But I always like the idea of being a mobile creator and just like making stuff wherever you go and not being embarrassed. I think it's really fun. You get some weird stares, but
at least what you're doing is cool though. Some people just are making stuff and it's just them taking pictures of themselves in the middle of the street or something.
Yeah, that's true. Like you don't normally encounter people that have their whole PC set up in some random place. Like normal people don't go on holiday with their PC, but me and my family do. So
you have to. Were you flying or just driving?
We drove from the UK to Italy. So we brought my mum and my dad's PCs, and I've been like using them when they're not using them to like film tutorials and like just mess around really, because I can't switch off. Like even on holiday, I need to have Blender like near me or I go insane.
I used to always like get mad at myself for not giving like myself the time to relax and do the things that I enjoy outside of work. And then I realized I just enjoy working. It's like one of my favorite things. So it's kind of hard to do it.
It's like, it's cathartic, but also I feel like I will never be happy if I don't have a million stressful things on my back at all moments of the time. Like I feel so unfulfilled that I'm just unhappy and stressed out when I'm not stressed. So I need to bring something with me. Holiday or no holiday, like
I always feel like if I have all these things to do, all I want to do is complete them, and then when they're completed I'm worried that I'm never going to have more things to do ever again.
There's always going to be something else that synthesizes in its place. I love to-do lists. Like I would to-do list every minute part of my day. Like even a 1-second task, I'll do it because ticking something off a list is so satisfying.
Do you do it analog or like in the computer?
Oh, def analog. I've got it like on my wall, on my mirror. I got my, I got the, what are they called?
Notepad?
No. Post-it notes.
Oh, post-it notes.
They're literally everywhere.
Tiny ones. I just used to mark pages and stuff.
I'm as digital as I am analog. I think I really love tactile things. I love taking my like notepad out to the park and drawing there. Yeah. I tried to be paperless for a while, but like I always just end up in like a bookstore buying another notepad. I'll be like, what am I doing?
I never, especially books. I don't think I could give up books because my favorite part about the book isn't just like the contents, but the presentation of it, especially with design. Like if it's a design book, you're never going to want just the PDF of that. That's boring. There's no fun in that.
It's definitely the tactile experience of actually holding it in your hand. Everything is so commodified and digital now that just the few things left in the world that you have to do in person, like reading a book and actually like holding a pen, that it feels good to rewind and experience that sometimes, as opposed to always being like living in this digital fast world. Just like step out sometimes and slow down. This
behind me is like I have the books and then I have all my vinyl and stuff. That's like the analog zone. And then if we flip this, it's just a bunch of like technology everywhere on the other side.
Yeah, I've been peeping the setup on your other videos. It's like it's a nice mixture of just like music, hardware, books, art. I like when I get my own place someday, that's the kind of thing I want to go for, but that's still in the pipeline. I have to finish uni first.
I like how I was watching some of your stuff again to like just familiarize again, and I was laughing so hard when you did your setup video and you were like, yeah, that's right, I do have a real camera, I just use the webcam like for the vibe or whatever.
It's so like I don't know, well, it's not the worst webcam in the world, but I like all these like kind of broken like Nintendo DS kind of Nokia quality. I don't know, there's something so like alluring about it to me. So I think I've gotten a bunch of comments like, yo, get a camera, get better quality. I'm like, dude, I've had it. I just like choose to reel it because like my face is not the important part of this experience. It's what we're learning. So might as well have like 3 pixels on a screen that kind of resembles a human being explaining it than like this super sharp thing. However, I do kind of want to transition into a bit more higher production value soon. So we'll see.
You've like built the brand around it though. There's a difference between
That's
like
true.
You're doing that for there's like a methodology to it. You're like, oh, it's like kind of Y2K aesthetic. Other people, they're just like, this is all I have. And then other people are like, I don't know how to work technology, so this is what you're gonna get. You know?
I'm so wary of like the label Y2K because of how like temporary trends and things are like this. I adore like scrolling through Pinterest as anyone else does and seeing all these like incredible like nostalgic designs, but I really want to like branch out of that little pocket that I've kind of put myself into, out of like Y2K and just a thing like a non like genre labels are useful up to a certain degree, but if people can just be autonomous and like singular in what they do, I think that would be sick. Like sometimes if something is good, you won't find anything else like that, and there's nothing wrong with it. Just enjoy that thing for what it is. But
some
I
stuff
want to
has
break
so
out.
much genres now that like there's so many I guess like sub branches of a specific genre that the idea of a genre becomes like pointless because there's just too many. Like everything's its own thing.
Like I get that humans want to categorize and hyper label every single thing, but just let people like find stuff on their own and exist in like single units. You don't have to branch everything together because it's like it goes anti-purpose after a while. It's just completely confusing and gatekeeping as well. So trying to break out of labels, and especially in the design world, it's really hard, but I'm still finding my style, I think, because I do so much stuff that I haven't really had time to hone in and have a singular style or branch that I want to refine. So that's probably what the next year is about, I think, for me.
Yeah, what do you have anything planned specifically like upcoming for your YouTube channel?
I've got like a lot of hardware stuff that I want to transition into doing because I'm a nerd at heart and I study computer science. So I want to like maybe transition, as well as doing Blender tutorials, maybe more stuff like building hardware and programming tutorials and stuff like that. Yeah. Because I honestly, I'm not like the most experienced person in Blender, as most of us know. I think people relate to that aspect, and there's a lot of more curated and helpful content out there in that regard. But I just kind of want to make it a bit more like ubiquitous and branch out again from what I'm doing and just make it like a hub of like creative technology, arts center. And ultimately, if I could make Intra like a community project, like workshops for kids learning how to do computer stuff, rendering, maybe kids that have been disenfranchised and told you can't do anything, like if I could make workshops for that and bring other people into it, so it's not just like one person benefiting from this like incredible gift of people and attention, which is a very rare commodity on the internet.
For sure. If
like that would be my dream, because I feel so weird having this resource that I'm not really like using to the best of my abilities right now, but I'm getting there. I'm planning, I'm scheming.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been thinking the same way about my stuff. Like, I've been trying to branch out before anyone can say like, oh, he does this, like this is all he's known for, because that way, like if you get too solidified and you try doing it once you're like super known, then everyone is like too jarring for them, to see like. So I've been doing, the podcast, and then I've been realizing that tutorials are kind of like a burn. Like everyone's already made a tutorial on everything, and I don't know,
it is true.
There's not really that many things I know software wise that other people don't. So I'm trying to offer like, what can I offer that's just like from my brain, like ideas and things. And I think you can do the same with your expertise on like the building and all that stuff, because most people that do that also aren't like 3D artists. They're doing it for like gaming or things like that.
It's such a like interesting crevice of the internet right now. I think obviously 3D has been so shunned and like boxed into this corner of like, it can only be certain kinds of people that do this, namely a certain demographic of people that kind of built that community that I learned so much from. And I think like for you as well, what you can offer is like your insight, your personality, how you perceive these like these creative outlets, how you like, all you can offer is yourself really, and your transmission of information. And if people like that, and if people feel comfortable learning from you, like that in itself is an asset. You can be teaching something that's been said before, but delivery, I think, is the most important thing that I've found out, and probably my biggest asset. Just not really caring about messing up, and people seeing that that's a natural part of the creative process. Because like super clean tutorials are incredible and amazing, but I'm not a super clean worker, so it'd be wrong for me to portray my workflow that way, because I'm literally the messiest. Like my file systems, I could never give anyone my files. Like they would just not know where to start. So I think for sure, like personality wise, like your work is incredible.
Thank you.
I fall short in your shadow. Just
I don't know about
kind
that,
of no, that's literally what I want to refine more towards, like packaging the things I know, like keeping my personality in that, but making it a bit cleaner, more accessible still. Like there's still more that I can do with that.
Yeah, I remember hearing something, I think it was something I read or I must have heard on a video. They were saying like, because when I was researching YouTube before I got into it, they were saying like most things have already been said and done, so people are going to come for the content, but they're going to stay for your voice, know, because everything, it's really hard to find ideas that don't exist, so you just got to figure out how to repurpose them into some kind of vibe or style.
The thing you said about voice is really interesting, because I'm super insecure about mine. I always thought I had a really deep voice, and even though that may be objectively true, like it's really interesting that YouTube has made me feel more like comfortable with my voice, because people like comment on it and say that they don't mind it. And also people watch my videos to go to sleep, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. Like,
it's like good and bad, huh?
Like it's good and bad. I don't know if I've created some weird like sleep video genre. I don't know.
Tutorial ASMR.
Exactly. Sometimes I watch like programming tutorials when I can't sleep. They're the best for insomnia.
Because they're
so
boring.
Good. So boring. So boring. Like, yeah, they're really good. I just fall asleep 3 minutes after I've turned it on, so they're great. That's why I don't know if I feel happy that people watch my videos to sleep, but
they must leave it on all night too. You got all those views.
I get that YouTube money.
What do you think, because your account kind of blew up during like the first lockdown, right?
Yeah.
And what do you, like, other than kind of the way you packaged it and like yourself, is there anything else you credit that to? Why do you think some of those videos got so big?
I feel like people are just bored. Like the reason I started that was out of boredom and insanity, absolutely nowhere to go. And I even like learning 3D, it was just some weird insatiable streak of every day waking up at the crack of dawn, rendering till I go to sleep, and then waking up and it just being an awful render and just repeating the cycle again and again. And I think other people were just looking for something to fill the void of quarantine, of this very bizarre year that we just experienced last year. And aside from that, I honestly don't know. Like, I didn't expect any of it to happen. I was quite happy with my 50 subscribers, just like chilling. Like, I was so like excited and happy that even 50 people would find anything that I had to say like relevant or useful. So all of it is still like really fascinating to think that people are turning to me for guided advice when really I'm probably still in the same phase they are. But honestly, maybe it's just the honesty and refreshing, like, flawed mentality that I have, which I'm genuinely not afraid to be wrong or to be stupid. I think people take YouTube too seriously, and the internet is literally the most silliest thing that we have on this planet. Yeah. Like, just have fun with it. Tell me if I'm messing up the gain, by the way. I think...
No, you're good.
Keeps going into red.
I think it just does that. I think it shows more sensitive than it is. You're
okay. So,
I think also it has to do with like the things that you were doing, contrary to what we were saying about like, oh, they haven't been done, but you were showing things that are like what people are very interested in right now. Like, for example, like I think you have the one that got really big was the Chrome type.
Yeah,
like
of course.
In the design world too, like that it's kind of blew up, kind of became like a meme almost at some point because it got so popular. But now it's kind of stayed, you know, it's done its life, and now it's still kind of around in pop culture. And I think everyone's like, how do I do that? How do I do that? So like
that was a really bizarre moment, for real. Like, I remember I was just scouring the internet looking for like documentation on how to get that like style. And I couldn't find it like anywhere. And I almost don't want to start like YouTube beef or anything for just like giving away secrets or whatever. But I found a weird, contrived, completely inefficient way of getting that effect. And I was like, let me show everyone. And sometimes I'm just like, when people take me too seriously, I'm just like, yo, just chill out. It's literally just for fun. I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I just, like, I think sharing and open information and access to information is the most like incredible thing that we have. So if you have something that you know, share it, like let other people benefit. People have made a bunch of like, someone said that they made like $6,000 in Ethernet coin, what am I talking about? Ethereum coin, just from like tutorials I've made, and I haven't even made that much. So that makes me happy that people can mobilize themselves and be like autonomous of something that I might have given them help with, which is like, it's way more rewarding than making that money myself. Once
the NFT like boom was happening, everyone suddenly I knew became 3D artists and were making Blender like
that was another
animations and stuff.
There's been so many weird pockets of time this year, a lot, especially for me, like just assuming that something would be so small and irrelevant, and a lot of people paying attention to it, and I'm not really sure how to adjust to that, like not at all.
I think part of you not expecting that though is what adds to the like authenticity of it. It's hard to fake like your intentions, you know. People can see it through the screen as much as we like to think that you can't. You could tell that the way you were doing that was like authentic and into your own.
Thanks.
Like you had a plan, obviously, like you curated the look and everything, but it doesn't seem like you were like, this Blender overall like overview is gonna like make me famous,
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. That wasn't my intentions at all. And I think now, because of that, I have a slightly different energy, I think, to when I started doing this. Like it does make a difference when 10 people are watching you to like 100 times that or whatever. Like I do think more about how it will be received, which is really strange. Like, it's literally tutorials. It's not some mad, like, I'm not like a Kardashian or anything, but it's still like, I think I'm more insecure about my skills, I think, now.
Yeah.
Because people may have like perceived me to be more than what I am. So I'm trying to like reassure people and remind people, like, dude, this is how much I actually know, and we can learn together. That's the main thing. I want to learn together with my audience. And I think that's what people can get, that I'm learning on the job too. Yeah.
I have people recommend me, or like not recommend, but I'll ask like, what kind of stuff do you guys want to see? And I'm just trying to plan out some videos, and every once in a while I'll get like these inquiries that I have no idea how to do it either. Yeah. So I just feel like kind of weird, like, damn, they really thought I knew how to do this. I have no idea.
I think that's also like creative, like intruder. What's that thing when you feel like an intruder?
Imposter syndrome?
That's the word. Like, imposter syndrome in the design industry is way more felt than any other industry. You're always going to feel like you don't know anything, and it's a humbling place to be, for sure. That's what will always lead you to grow and learn every single day, at least one little thing. But sometimes it's so debilitating and soul crushing, especially if you're being paid for something, when you start like dissociating, thinking this doesn't make sense. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know. Like, you question your integrity and like your whole meaning of life sometimes. But I wouldn't switch jobs for anything else.
I can't even imagine.
You live for it in a way.
I was working on a client project, or I'm still working on it, so I'm not talking about it too much, but there was some revisions that I had to do where they came in and I was thinking like, I can't do this. Like I over what is it? Over promise and under delivered. That's how I felt. Right. And then, I ended up doing it. It just took a little bit of searching for some tutorials and like manipulating something I already had. And then the client was like, great. And then that feeling was gone. But for like 4 hours, I felt like I didn't even want to do this anymore. You know,
for real. You question why you do it in each project. There's always a point in each project where you're like, please, someone just take this away from me. I don't want to be involved anymore. Like, it's never really the client's fault. I think this is the one, like, the industry is so hard because it's all based on subjective preference, and there is no right and wrong. And that's probably why I couldn't study art, because I just wanted to study something factual, set in stone, as a yes or no. You pass the test or you don't pass the test, and develop all this other stuff in my own time when I can be more expressive with it, and not be assessed on it, because I can't imagine being assessed on it, let alone doing paid projects. That's an intensity to which I don't have emotional strength. But I respect all people that study creative subjects for that very reason. It's just like, the ground you're working on it doesn't exist. Like, the mark schemes for creative subjects are completely like fabricated, so you have to be really strong.
When I was at university for design, I there was always like 3 types of archetypes or whatever of the students that were in the classes. There was the people that never really like did what they were told, to the extent where they kind of just failed in that way. And then there was the people that were so on the nose to please the professors that they never challenged their own like aesthetic and creativity, and like now they're doomed to just work at like a print shop or something. And then there was like a handful of people, which I was like proud to be in, with like the 5 or 6 people in my class that we kind of figured out, you got to like throw the professors a bone, but if you don't ever challenge them and bring something fresh, they're never going to like, they're just going to be like, okay, you're good to go. If you challenge them and then provide like the backup on why you did it that way, they respect it a lot more. They're like, oh, he actually thought about it or whatever.
It's such a good place to be. I did 1 year of foundation art, and this was more like media productions, like film production. And I've really enjoyed it. Aside from the criticism, which I'm really bad at taking, I need to work on that, to be fair. Like,
Me too.
I just loved taking a brief and being like, what is the weirdest, most abstract, like furthest way I can stretch this while remaining like just within the parameters of what they've asked. And that's the thing I loved the most, honestly. Like, I will miss that like idea of being set a brief and just breaking it to the point where your professors are just like, what? Like, I left my teacher just like question marking everything I ever brought to her, and that was really fun. I'd get really like bad criticism, but at the end, like, I got a really high mark for the year and it paid off. I had a lot of fun with that year, but I didn't have the mental strength to do that for any more time. But not that computer science is any easier. I question my decision every day.
That's like is it called a major over there or whatever, your focus?
Yeah, we just have like, we pick one course really. So it's just computer science, Bachelor of Science or whatever. But yeah, it's really hard. I'm not the best at it.
What made you want to get into that, like, originally?
I think it really did boil down to, I really enjoy like scientific subjects. I almost like applied to medicine school. Like, my life was going to take a complete different course. And the science of computers is probably the most fascinating, incredible thing that I could ever pick. And I can't imagine studying any other course, even though this one makes me, again, like cry at my computer every day when my code's not working, which is every day, just never works. When it does work, it's like a sense of satisfaction and happiness that can't be paralleled to anything else. But like, I've always been a nerd, and my dad is very responsible for that. Like, growing up, we had computer cases, like 20 computer cases open around the house. We just like be messing around. I had my little computer in the room, and we used to hang out with like, well, my babysitters was like the IT team. What are they called? Like the IT office of a college. I used to just be left there for hours, and they'd just be there like messing around with computer stuff. So it just was a natural progression to study that. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoy it. And I have 1 year left, which is really hard to juggle intro with uni, because part of me just wants to leave and do this full time and put my all into it. But 2 years out of a 3-year degree, you might as well just...
Yeah. And the people, they'll be there waiting. So you're
exactly. It's not going
anywhere. If you leave, it'll be harder to do the inverse, like try to go back and finish the school.
For sure. You know? Like, I'm a year away from getting a bit of paper that says I did something cool. So I'll try and get through. But I think I was scared that in the prime time of Intra being formed, like the most formative part of the process, if I squandered it and went radio silent and had to focus on my degree, like, I could potentially like waste this incredible opportunity to make something bigger for like more people momentum of than me. Yeah, for sure. And that's what I'm going to try to balance this year. Prioritize both things as much as I can. And I know I can. I just need to work on my time management a little bit, which I used to be really good at, but I've fallen off a little bit. But I'm going to get back to where I used to be, for sure.
So if you started out with when you were young, with the nerds or whatever you said, and the computer parts and all that, and then you got into studying that, when did you get into like 3D design and art and all that stuff?
Literally in lockdown. I used to download Blender once a year. It was this weird ritual that I'd download it once a year for maybe 3 years and mess around with it and uninstall it like the day after, or just be like, why is Blender still on my computer? Uninstall. And every year I'd try again and again. And I know I'm not the only person that does that, because I've asked a lot of people, and it's so weird adding another axis to when you're used to 2D. And I'm like heavily into like film and like camera kind of stuff. So transitioning from like painting and like traditional art to 3D, literally having the ability to make anything you want in this space, it was so daunting. But I think the best bit of advice I got was limit yourself, like literally model the most mundane, stupid thing that has no relevance or is not like bigger than what it is, and learn from there. So in lockdown, I was like, actually, to be fair, while Corona was still kind of like a joke and everyone was joking about it, I started picking Blender up and I started doing a little bit every day, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this with uni.
Yeah.
And then everything just stopped and I had this vacuum of time. And once it passed like a tipping point of the tools just being able to do what I wanted them to do without me having to think too hard, it was over. I was addicted to this thing like every day. Like I was not talking to anyone. I was just at my computer 24/7, like making lots of stuff, really bad renders. So many bad renders. But I think I saw a lot of like cool stuff on Instagram and I was like, oh, I want to make this, and no one was showing me how to. So I had to like form a weird way of getting results when no one would teach me. And yeah, to be fair though, I did one tutorial, like a live stream with Harriet Blend, which was really sick. Working with like Dad's workflow integrated into Blender. And although I don't use that workflow now, it was really good to see like someone already established in the industry, how they work, and like picking up a good few like shortcuts and just like more confidence as well. So that was another good turning point for me, I think. Shout out Harriet.
Yeah, I think that it's good that what's the word, like that restriction that you couldn't figure out the things you wanted to do that way, it was probably like one of your biggest blessings though, in that sense. For because then you realized there was like that hole in the internet zeitgeist to fill with your, I know you say you don't like it, but like Y2K aesthetic in a sense, just because, for lack of a better word. But I think that it's pretty impressive that you've only done that in this whole year, because I feel like it takes people that I know, including myself, years and years, and I still feel like I haven't figured out how I want everything I do to look. And it seems like to a certain extent you've accomplished that with the blend of your YouTube and just the stuff you post online in your portfolio.
I think it is also quite weird that someone picks something up and immediately starts to like create educational resources on that thing. That's not normally how it works. Like that's why I don't like when people are like, oh my gosh, like Blender Queen, blah, blah. No, I'm not the Blender Queen. There's people that have been doing this for literally before I was born, like 10, 15 years of Blender experience on their backs, of 3D experience. Like I genuinely do not know what I'm doing, but I appreciate that. But I think for me, like I'm just overwhelmed with happiness when I learn something, and I think that's a commutable skill that I can pass to someone else that might benefit. It absolutely can't stay with me. Like it will like make me feel awful if I keep that. And yeah, that's honestly where it came from. I played around with a bunch of other 3D softwares, but honestly, Blender just feels
like the home. Socialist 3D program to everyone.
It's power to the people. It's power to the people. I think it's the greatest like project, like computer-based open source project that has ever been created, honestly, for what it offers: video editing, compositing, UV, like everything, 3D, everything in one place, and the render engines they offer as well, like for free. I can't fathom it or understand it. I can just be grateful.
I always, you were mentioning too, like people saying like, oh, you're the queen of Blender and all this. And I find it funny because I've been like messing with TikTok lately, and I noticed that audience knows way less than all these like little design communities I'm in. I always assume everyone knows everything, to where now in there, I'll talk about like some resource that we all know about, and then it has like hundreds of thousands of views, and they're all like, oh, like thank you, like you're like a legend or whatever, like, and all I'm doing is telling them like great. Where I got a texture from or something. For sure. You know?
I've seen your TikToks, they're amazing. They're so like tactile and just like textured and just beautiful. Like the way you relay information is so satisfying in itself. Like that's honestly something I could never like branch into. I think short form like video sharing platforms are legitimately the way forward in terms of like marketing, as well as like sharing it, like learning information. I adore like short form like tutorials. I think like YouTube has like a real kind of format thing now. Those are awesome. Like they're so good, just giving bursts of information to people, and the responses are always so like nice and heartwarming for what it is sometimes. But
I'm always like it sucks because I'm torn between like the idea of the short form, because if I'm being 100% honest, I only have started doing it because I know that that's like what's going on. Like it's not my favorite way to communicate things, because I feel like it's just too short. It's more of like for the aesthetic of it. And
for sure,
but because I'm over here trying to build things on YouTube, especially with the podcast, which is the exact opposite. It's the longest form of thing you can do. But then I do something in 10 minutes on my iPhone and it gets like
the response
100 times the exposure. And it's like, it's kind of frustrating. At the same time. It's also, it's nice though to diversify like where you're at or whatever.
For sure. I think the commodity of the 21st century is attention. Like money means nothing. Attention is everything that you're bargaining for now. And sadly, that is in short supply. We are just people and creatures that love to just be stimulated immediately. And if there's a minute of like dead white noise, it's just switch off. And I think podcasts are amazing, kind of like a protest to that. Podcasts, books, long format tutorials, learning skills like that is a protest to how the internet is trying to wire our brains to be so like, to be so lazy. It's a really big problem. But I think you're mixing up the mediums, and that's the most important thing. Like you can have like everything on this spectrum of length of content. Even like content as an idea is kind of problematic, but
we'll I have conversations with people, friends, and like, I don't know, colleagues or whatever you want to call them, all the time about how we think half the time we feel like that other than client work, we're just like what are we, designers of content, or like are we trying to be like artists? Are we trying to get clients? Like sometimes I feel like we go our whole day but revolved around when you'll have the time to create stuff to post online, which is like when I first started this, my idea was I want to work at a studio or I want to have the coolest clients. But now I'm just like, how many people can this reach? Like, how do I make content? You get like, it's hard to get out and in of that like content brain without getting like too obsessed with it, where you're like, oh shit, how do I like optimize for views? Like you were saying, like, oh, cut out anything with dead air. And I think that people nowadays, it seems like there's no gray area. It's like they only want to watch you for 30 seconds or listen to you for an hour and a half. It's like 20 minutes is too long, but hours fine.
It's a mad feedback loop. I think you just do something, see what the response is, and try and like refine everything you do from that point onwards. And I've fallen prey to that. A lot of us have fallen prey to that. It's not even falling prey to it. I think it's just survival now. I always wonder what the future of the creative industry is going to look like, with formats like YouTube becoming ever more saturated. Like how many like terabytes of, what is it, exabytes of data is being created every single day? Like, where are we actually headed with all of this stuff that everyone is making?
Is that the next size, exabyte?
I think so.
So that's 1,000 terabytes? I should really know this.
I think every day there's like...
I remember being like a kid and you'd have like your PlayStation and the memory card was only 8 megabytes and that held all your saves and everything, which seems insane now.
Okay, hang on. And I'm really bad at time. 2.5 quintillion bytes of data every single day. I don't even know what quintillion equates to in terms of like, that's mad.
Quintillion? It's probably like 12. I have no idea. I don't know anything 42. I don't know anything after like octagon, like oct.
Yeah, no. Like honestly, my strength does not lie in numbers really. I didn't really pick my chords very wisely, but we get through. We'll get through. But I just worry like about where the sustainability of what I'm doing, what we're all doing. Really, we all want to be in this industry, and making cool stuff just doesn't cut it sometimes anymore. There's so much cool stuff, and everyone has access to it. You can't find something obscure anymore because obscurity doesn't really exist. As soon as something cool is like appreciated, it just like grows. I don't know. It's really weird. I think the whole like infrastructure behind design and creative scenes is gonna have like some mad like uphaul soon, and I don't really know how or what. But we'll see.
It's crazy too.
mad.
I remember reading something with COVID, obviously had a lot to do with it, but it was, I think, 100x like the amount of freelancers or something in the workforce versus like 20. This might all be like bullshit numbers, don't like quote me on that, but it was a lot more than like 2019 and after with COVID. And it's, I think not only did people realize they could do stuff on their own, whether it's creative fields or not. And then also people realize like their threshold for the shit they'll take from like employers became a lot lower because they realized like we could all just die from like a sickness something.
It's perspectivized a lot of things for people. I think if it like legitimately, if it wasn't for Corona, I wouldn't be doing any of this really. My whole life would have taken a completely different course. I think you said that you've gone like freelance now. I think I watched that video. Yeah. And that wouldn't have happened without this every day I'm so grateful that off the back of this tragedy of life, death, of all of this like suffering and all these situations that other people have found great difficulty, I've kind of like groveled and found a little like niche for me to be comfortable in. And that's why I want to make sure that I'm not the only person that can gain from this, because I gained from it in a time of like dire need, if that makes sense. Even though I'm not actively sometimes. Like, you know,
like I feel like I wasn't supposed to like be happy about what happened because of the surroundings of what was going on. But then I realized like it's not like I didn't cause any of that. It's not my fault that bad things are happening. If good things happen to me, that's like, that should be good, and hopefully I can pass on some of that good to other spaces in the world.
And that's another reason I really like Blender as a concept, as like a political concept of sharing. I feel like the problem with other 3D softwares is the community is so closed and gate kept, and you can't really learn things as easily. But with a literal free, incredible software, of course, the community of people and the resources and documentation are going to be A1. Like, I wouldn't know anything without those like weird, obscure like tutorials with no audio, but really helpful, like kind of blurry. Or like there's like Spanish random tutorials in Spanish. Like I wouldn't have, like that wouldn't exist if this software was a paid, you know, highly exclusive, you know, whatever thing. And I think that's why it's so good. Like as an underdog, I love everything that Blender stands for on a wider macro scale, not just as like a software. I've deeped it so much now. I've taken it way too far. But
I think all you're trying to say is like fuck Cinema 4D, right?
Yeah, basically. Like I really don't like her. I used to actually model stuff in Blender and composite in Cinema 4D. Then I found out you can use Octane in Blender, and it's all like, I said goodbye, like no more.
Even but like as a person who spends all the money on Adobe, when I looked into getting Cinema 4D one time, I was like, man, if I don't know how to use this and I end up quitting on it, I'm going to be so mad that I paid for this. There's going to be
holes in your pockets. Like, honestly, it is also really sick. Their animation tools are incredible. You can do the same stuff in Blender. You just have to be a bit smarter, basically. Like, their MoGraph tools are easy. They look gorgeous, but they're easy. So that's maybe the one thing I kind of miss. But yeah, again, like I did all of this stuff way too early. I've literally been doing this for a year, and I've cycled through Maya, Blender, Cinema 4D, all of them. And I've basically like sped up by exponentially the whole process. And now I need to like really hone in on my skills and actually start having good practices and teaching good practices. Like I can't be teaching the wrong thing anymore. And I think that's why I've been careful about what I want to put out now, because I want to make it actually a bit more factually solid. And basically.
I get what you were saying when you were saying because I don't have the audience that you have yet. However, you were saying something about you have to think about it differently now because you're like, I don't know, more responsible for a bigger amount of people. And so do you feel that it'd be way, like it's worse now if you get something wrong, kind of like?
Yeah. I feel like people are judging the videos I made in lockdown when there were literally 5 people watching me, the same as they thought I made those now when there's so many more people.
Yeah.
Just fair enough. And like, whatever, the internet is so silly, like I said before. But now I genuinely, even for myself, like I need to refine it. I can still be the lighthearted, approachable persona that I portray on the internet, but I like, if I can relay information that is solid and good and researched and thought out, as well as that's where I want to be. So I always joke about how bad I am, but that is honestly, like, I'm letting myself off too lightly, I think, by always joking that, saying, oh, I don't mean it. Like, now it's time to actually buckle down and take responsibility for what I'm producing and teaching.
That's like when all those podcasts, like people that talk about like politics, they'll make some crazy statement. They're like, but I don't know, do your own research. You know?
Like it's a good loophole at the start, but if that is everything you build on, just being a clueless person that you like enjoy being taken seriously on occasion, but you still like have this clueless persona, that's irresponsible, and I want to be more responsible. So I'm gonna try and refine my process and teach that refined approach. And if I get criticism, just be like, fair enough, we're gonna do better, not like just chalk it up to, oh, don't take me seriously. That's what my current goal is.
I've gotten some criticism, and at first I was like, damn, this sucks, because there wasn't even enough like non-criticism to blend in the criticism. It was like the only thing on there. I'm like, well,
it's tough.
But I just left it as like like I felt like if I took it off, that they won, you know, like that.
Yeah.
And it was partially true. So it's like, who am I to just delete this, even though this person thought this was true and it was? They just could have said it nicer. You know?
It is hard. I think like I get really defensive in the comments sometimes, because I'm like, if you have a constructive, like if you're a Blender user and you have something constructive to say, I'd love to hear it, in fact, and I've learned so much from comments. But if it's just straight up like someone that legitimately hasn't even opened the software before, is bored, like, tutorials are not the place to be a troll. It's just like, I'm trying to make something wholesome out here. But I get it. There's always gonna be it's gonna be everywhere on the internet. But my main fear is that I'm scared of like I said before, I don't want to start a YouTube beef, but I don't know if I feel like I'm maybe dumbing it down too much or making it almost too accessible to the point where people expect this thing to be an easy thing without any trials and tribulations. Like, I get questions like, what software is this? Or like, how do I install a font? And I think like I initially thought that people watching it might have already had a bit of experience there, but now I've realized I'm like the first point of reference for a lot of people. I don't know how to balance respect for the software and what I'm doing for also, like, it's just, I don't know. I'm figuring that out.
That's a good point. I used to think I had to explain everything, and it made the tutorials or the content like just too like granular. Like if I'm trying to teach you how to do one thing, I can't be telling you about like what internet browser to use, or like you should know Control-Z. I feel like, you know, I don't know. And then like once it gets too specific, you lose the meaning. It's like the reason people make blanket statements isn't because they're true. It's because if you say this, but, and you add all these little like exceptions, then you'll never make a point, you know?
For sure. Yeah, it's like, oh, hang on a sec.
You're good.
My friend's FaceTiming me. Go away. How do you decline it? Oh, okay, sick. Yeah, I don't know how to.
I think you could push the button, the side one.
It's because it's on my iPad all the way over there, but it's gone now. I completely lost my train of thought, but I just remember saying, like, dumbing down a concept. Yeah, I've lost that train of thought's gone.
I think what I got from it was that you still want people to know that, like, it took you a while to learn how to use these programs and stuff. It's not just like you can't watch one video and figure it all out.
I really do think there's, like, personally for me anyway, there was a level of insanity that went into it. Like, I am not joking. My parents were scared. Like, I was obviously locked at home with my parents, and I did not move from my computer for 4 months. I was this shell. Like, everyone was just like messaging me like, what is this? What's this thing you're doing? And I was just like learning, absorbing all this information, and like so many failed stages and projects and awful like projects that I'll never open again. People don't see that, and I think that's my problem. I've made such an accessible first tutorial that is very trending that people think, oh, this is it. Like, once I've got this down, like, but
I'm gonna get some Ethereum.
Exactly. And that's what I'm scared of. I don't want to disrespect anyone. Like, I don't want to disrespect the creative community and all the years of work that people like someone like you, for instance, has put into your practice. You've gone to art school, you've done all of these things, like, you've invested into your practice. And I don't want to disrespect it by just coming through with my nonchalant, like, disposition and just being like, just making it so, like, I don't know.
I don't think that. I don't know if anyone's made you think that for whatever reason, but I've never felt, or anyone I've talked to has never said anything assuming that you've been any disrespectful or like not like disregarding. Like, I feel like what you're doing is good, and it's like we need that. So I think if anyone thinks that, like, they were just maybe trolling
it
or
might
something.
be a self-projection. Like, I think it's mainly a self-projection. I think I haven't really explicitly been said, but that's just something I felt. And that's why I look up to a lot of people online, and I want to start feeling confident in what I think. I'm just not confident in what I'm making at the moment, and that all I can do to mediate that is just make more stuff and get closer to the core of what I'm trying to achieve, which at the moment I haven't really been very dedicated, so I need to definitely work on that for sure.
It's funny how you mentioned like your parents like were saying like seeing you not move from the computer and all that. And I feel like everyone I know that asks me stuff, or other people I ask that have accomplished like things that other people want to do, they always ask like how it was done, and then the person will say, this is how I did it, but it's bad, like don't do that, you know. But then I realize like this seems like the only way to get things done is like do things that are unhealthy for your like for you, at least for a short time.
Like, we'd go down to dinner, the one few times that they'd actually see me, I'd be sat at the table looking at the glass that I was drinking my water out of, thinking, oh, what is this material, the diffraction, the index of refraction, like looking at my food, like how am I gonna, like everything I was looking at, I was just like, how do I make this fruit? Like, I became obsessed, and it literally became my world. And I really missed that beautiful moment where like it was still so new and fascinating and novel to me. Now I've become so like I just open Blender, just like yawning, like yeah, whatever. But back then it was always this like all consuming, exciting thing, and I want to get back to that point. And I think it was the exponential learning curve. Right now I'm plateauing a little bit. I used to learn like a million things every single day and just absorb it and continue like repeating those things. But I've definitely let myself go, and I really want to get back to that honeymoon phase with Blender. It was literally like a honeymoon. Yeah. And we were like together, and no one could separate us day or night. I'd wake up in the night to check on the render, how's she doing, and then go back to sleep. Like, it was ridiculous.
That's
funny. It was a good
time. What inspired you, I guess, or like really interested you in, because I read about it on your the way you worded it on your website, but what am I getting at? Oh, creating the like you say like from the mundane, or like the renders will be like of things that aren't exciting in that sense?
Yeah.
What kind of got you interested in that?
I just love that idea of finding beauty in ugly things. I think I'm weirdly obsessed with modeling like receptacles, like objects that contain a liquid. Like I've modeled so many cans, bottles, vaccine bottles.
Yeah, the
like
COVID
I don't know
one.
why I'm obsessed with that kind of stuff, but just like making beautiful like imagery from things that are discarded. And I've always been drawn to that. Even when I used to do like painting and filmmaking, I was always drawn to like absurdism as an art form, as an art style. And that is probably my current plan with my personal projects that I haven't had time to do any in recently. But I want to start going back to abstracting what I'm doing and learning how to abstract stuff in 3D space. Because right now I'm doing quite clean renders. Like you can clearly tell what the subject is.
Right.
But I really want to move into more abstract rendering where you literally don't... Have you seen that like meme of like, name one thing in this picture, and it's just like this like AI kind of picture, where you can't tell what anything is. I kind of want to go back to that, just like textures, and just textures, light and color. I think those are the primitive things that I find are the most inspiring, like visually inspiring things to create. So yeah, just like glamorizing ugly stuff is really fun. And I think that's the challenge, really. That's where I started with 3D. Once I limited myself, I was like, okay, how do I make this horrible thing look cool? And it's a really good, I think, task for anyone that wants to learn it. Just do that. Pick something on your desk and model it.
I feel like that also speaks to the way that you present the like this mundane thing or this like a disposable item, because it doesn't inherently have like interesting value, so you have to add it with the way that you're it's like presented. Packaging it for the viewer, because like I feel like some things like, okay, I guess if you're a photographer, right, I like things that are like posed and mundane and like cool photography, because landscape photography to me, it's like it's such a cool thing no matter what. It's like you could take it on your phone and it's beautiful, but when you see something created out of like just like a plain like street light or something, it's like it's not very interesting if you just like shot it by itself, but if you curated like the viewing experience, it's a lot cooler.
I love like street photography of stuff on the floor. Like I'm obsessed with trash as well. Whenever I'm walking anywhere, if I see like a dumpster, I'll just be like, oh, what's in there? Like I got it from my mum for sure. Like just seeing like antique stuff or like just random flyers or broken things on the street. Like I genuinely like find that to be the most interesting like source of inspiration. Like, I've never been inspired by like typically inspiring things. Most of my render ideas come from dreams or like stupid dream logic. And that I have like a pen like a pucker pad under my pillow every night, and I always write like random stuff, and that's where all my renders come from. And I don't post all of them because some of them are just too dumb for the world to see or anyone other than me. But yeah, like I'm a simple person, and I honestly just find a lot of beauty in texture, and that's one of my favorite things, what things are made of. So I have so many photos on my phone of just like this zoomed in, just like a little bit of like a crisp packet that I thought looked really cool, and I want to emulate that in 3D. It's quite rudimentary, like it's not
little
anything
swatches,
too crazy.
Kind of, huh?
Yeah, inspiration swatches.
I need to start having the notebook by my bed, because I always think that I'm gonna remember it, and then I go back to sleep and I never remember.
No, even if it's the most like poignant idea, I always have to write it down, because it always like it'll be the best idea but you'll forget it. So I hate that feeling so much, so I try to avoid it. But again, in that kind of weird like insanity phase of Blender, like that was the worst. I wasn't sleeping at all. I'd go to sleep after like turning my screen off, and just hearing my computer in my room, I just wake up every 5 minutes like, I want to make this, I want to make this, I want to make this. Like it consumed my life, and I think that's what everyone should experience at some point, like a few months of total like absorbed focus.
I did that when I first started with the YouTube and the podcast stuff. I just got obsessed with like audio and like how shit sounds with like vocals and things, and like so many things we spend time on, me and this my friend Vince, who helps me edit some audio and video, and like we're so granular sometimes about like just like little pops and like crazy sounds that no one's gonna hear. But
your audio sounds incredible. It's so crisp. I don't know what mine sounds like. I'm sorry in advance. I still don't know how to process it, but
that'll just be
is like stupid good.
Thank you. But I also, the part of the reason it's good is like I make myself suffer. Like I close everything. I turn off the air conditioning. I make the computer, like it gets so hot because it's just trying to be quiet, and I have all the fans closed off and stuff.
Oh my yeah, you said you're in America. I forgot what place.
Hollywood,
California?
in Los Angeles. Yeah.
I can't fathom that. I'm basically in Scotland, so we're quite. It's a cool place. I don't really need like heating or I don't need air conditioning or anything.
I talked to a lot of people in UK and Europe, and they say that like air conditioning isn't like a normal thing to have. And everyone here, if you don't have AC, it's like you're like it's like when we were in college and like we couldn't afford it, you know. It was like very
social
like
pariah.
Yeah, it'd be like 100 degrees in the house, you know, or
yeah, I
don't know what that is like in Celsius, but probably like 40 or 50.
Honestly,
I'm
like
not sure.
I realized how important AC is, because I went from basically spending a year in like Scotland temperatures of I don't know how, I'm not even going to try and tell you how many degrees because I don't understand Fahrenheit, but like pretty cold. And then I went on holiday to my grandma's and it was like 39 degrees, and I had obviously my dad's like fat ass computer just whirring away. It was an oven. Like I was just rendering and just sweating. Like the fan was broken, no AC. No, it's not the one. Like working in heat, I don't understand how people do it. I was having heat strokes just trying to like stay awake doing these tutorials. You can see in the videos, I'm just like
yeah, I felt the same way when lockdown started. It was, and when I was at my old apartment that didn't have AC, and it was summer, and I had just built the PC. I didn't realize how much hotter it was going to be than my laptop. Just in general, it's like a space heater, and I'm just trying to make videos while I'm filming off my iPhone, and I'm trying to figure out how I can make it so it doesn't look like I'm just sweating, you know?
Yeah, honestly, like my mom always would come into the room and say, Steph, you know the computer generates heat. I'd be like, what are you talking about? And then one day out of curiosity, I just felt it, and it was literally like scorching hot. Yeah. And so I get it now. Like it is like a heat source. I always wonder why it's so hot in my room, but it's because I never ever switch it off.
Yeah, I get real, when I play video games, it gets so hot and I'm just in here, like I don't realize. I get up after a few hours and I go into another part of the house. It feels like I'm in another like state.
My dream right now is to maybe get a studio space where I can put all of this stuff there and feel like I have a separation between work and like just like sleeping and relaxation. Because honestly, like opening your eyes and seeing this setup, as nice as it is like quite stressful to be the first thing you see and experience in the morning. And I think that would like maybe step up my process even more if I feel like kind of like I'm in a dedicated focused space. I can tap into that more.
It helps. This is like at my office, I guess you could call it for now, because we moved and we got this one for cheaper, and it had another room because COVID, so they were knocking down all the prices, right? Like this should not be what it costs in Hollywood. Definitely,
that's another thing COVID's done. It's weird.
Before it was like my girlfriend, all her stuff, work stuff, all my stuff, then the bed, and it was just like there was no separation at all, and it felt like you're just in a constant state of like stress and work, and
it is too much. And if this is basically going to be my life now, I want to start building like good habits and routines with it, and like even respecting myself to have a different space for it would be really nice. But obviously university life, I'm still like navigating that, so I'm setting up these little like ideas for the future, maybe in a year's time. But yeah, I'm really excited for like graduating and just being free to take this whole thing further. But I also really want to make the most out of this last year. I can't go I can't just go MIA
I wanted to ask you about that because once I read because I was under the impression before we talked, and I read on a little bit online that you were just, I didn't know you did computer science and all that. And now that I know you're getting that degree for like your future and like when you graduate, it sounds like you plan on pursuing like the Intra stuff and the 3D stuff more immediately, right?
That's literally what I mean by my life has been turned upside down in the past year. Before Corona, my plan was to like do this degree and try and get into like game engineering and like maybe do like Ubisoft has an office right here near my uni.
Oh, cool.
So I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna do this journey, like try and get hired by them, and I had that whole plan. And now everything has completely changed to the idea that I could be self-sufficient. And like people have applied for internships to me. I'm like, what? I'm like, dude, I'm like, what? It's the sickest, like, it's so flattering. But I for now, like, I just need to settle down and like tell my ego to like calm down a tiny bit and get my degree. And I'm thinking to probably just freelance or maybe like create a little studio and find some other people that love Blender as much as I do and learn from them and create like a little like space where everyone kind of works separately on whatever they're doing, but under one roof of like support and just like not being alienated to yourself. Like that would be incredible. I've got a bunch of like people already that I know that would be like incredible to like work alongside, doing our own thing, but just having a shared space. That's kind of the idea. Or working for a studio, which would be nice, to be fair.
I know
but I don't really know any Blender studios.
I know like a few design what do you want to call them, like designers that are rolling the same like crew or whatever, right? And they have their own little like co-working spaces like in like London, or ones like I honestly forgot where they live, but they're just people I know, and they're all across the place, and
so
that
nice.
Just sounds so cool to have. Like, I just don't know. It's, even though I live out here, all the people I know online don't even live in LA, even though LA is supposed to be like the place where people are at. No one lives here that I know, for this industry at least.
For sure. So one thing like we've actually learned through, another thing we've learned through Corona is like you can work from home, you can do these things. It's the word, like you can remotely, that's the one. Which is incredible how like I think my like ultimate life plan is to just move to a forest in like the middle of nowhere with like a super high speed internet connection and just work remotely, do stuff from there, open the window, like the curtains, and just see like dense rainforest. We now live in a time where that is actually possible. Like I don't need to be face to face to do what I do. That would be like really sick. But right now I think I need to apply my same principle of what I learned last year and like think small, because when you think too big you get distracted. Like maybe have a big thought at the back of your head, but there's definitely like tasks that need to be done immediately that will benefit me a lot. And I can't get distracted with the what ifs, because if I don't do what I need to be doing now, like that's not going to happen at all. So humility is, I need to be humble because I've been a bit not so humble.
I felt the same way as what you were saying with my world didn't get like quite as, I guess, flipped as you were saying, because I'm still doing design like I always wanted to, or I had wanted to since school or whatever. But when I was working the past 2 years, I had jobs and things, and I always was like just getting gradually better jobs until I really just wanted to be at like a super cool studio out here in LA or in New York or whatever. And that was like my thing. And I was always like disappointed because each step it seemed like I'd get a little bit closer, but it wouldn't quite be that position I wanted. And now that I feel like I could probably get in there in terms of my experience, I'm in this position where I feel like, damn, I don't ever have to work for anyone ever again. And it's like, it's kind of weird. Like I never thought I'd be in freelancing or whatever this early. I always thought that'd be like when I'm like 30 or something or 40 and I already worked in the industry or whatever. It's like the internet is like so interesting in that way.
For real.
And you said like, people applied to you, and I put out my freelance post, like, and people kept hitting me up as if like, I don't know if they misinterpreted what I said, but I said open for freelance, and it got a bunch of shares and stuff. I got some clients from it, but I had probably 35 people applied to like work for me.
Sick.
And I was like, it's not even this, but thank you.
What are we meant to do with that? Like my ego definitely like took that one and like processed it, but that is like so beautiful and unmerited for me anyway. I feel like I have nothing to like teach anyone like that close to me just for now anyway. But that's what I mean. Like, this has been a mad blessing for me, and I don't want to like waste it. But I also like
my battery died.
No.
I have another one. One thing I wanted to ask you about is, you talked about your parents quite a bit, and do they do like, are they in like creative or like tech industries? I am like a photocopy of my dad in the sense that he's very like computer involved. He doesn't work necessarily in anything creative. He's like a social worker, but like he's got such a creative soul of like hardware. He like everything I really learn it from him, just like my attitude towards technology. And my mum is an architect, so we talk about 3D stuff all the time. I gave her a bunch of Blender lessons like a few months ago. You are kind of like those two things.
Like, literally social and like literally like I'm a really good mixture of both of them. I have so many qualities that I share so many qualities from both of them, and it's really nice. Like I can talk to my dad about tech, and then with my mom, like I'll go and look at her like building these intricate drawings, and I'll just be like, whoa, and I'll do like some vector work for her. Like she actually wanted to work for me or something at some point. I was like, Mom, like no, like she's incredible. She's always
Intra
like
headquarters.
Dude, like just make a little family business. But like I am quite blessed to grow up with like parents that are quite tech savvy. So they cool. know like when I just say to them, guys, I'm filming a video, they're like stop filming a video. They respect all of that. And I want to film a video with my dad soon, like just like some nerdy stuff. But I really want to balance like kind of like computer lifestyle videos, like how to get outside and still live your life if you're like a computer based operative worker or whatever, as well as like informational videos. So I think I would just want to create like a nice little cocoon in the internet that is nerdy but fun and welcoming. That's the aim.
I think you will. It seems like you already have the foundation, and all you need to do is just continue to, once you finish whatever is on your to-do list right now, and then once you can get more into that, I think it's gonna to the moon from there, really.
For sure. I appreciate that. Like, it's really nice to hear that from someone that I admire their work so much. I've seen you on YouTube, like even before I even knew that you did podcasts and stuff. So I've just like been known about your work, and hearing that from someone that knows what they're doing a lot more than me is isn't really like inspiring.
It's funny because I appreciate that, and it's just funny because I felt you, when I was looking into getting into YouTube, you were one of the people that I was kind of looking around at, you and like Kel Lauren and Louis Moss, who all of them I kind of know now.
Yeah, Louis
and now
sick.
It's like all more, now I just know these people rather than I was like, I can never get into this world, but thank you. And hopefully we all just keep going up from here.
Oh, for sure. Like we've built like little networks of like people doing similar stuff, and now I've like figured out what software you're using to film this. I'm gonna steal it. Like just sharing just sharing information with people that will appreciate it. That's all we're trying to do out here. And we're like, we made the most out of like such a terrible like isolating situation. I think we've brought a lot of people closer to things that they want to do, and that like that's invaluable.
Yeah, definitely. And I appreciate you coming on once again. And
thank you very
if you guys
much.
want to hear a little bit more, on my Patreon, we're going to do a little Q&A from some questions that got submitted for Intra. But other than that, where can everyone find you? So all your socials and everything.
Just at Intranetgirl. Someone took Intranetgirl on TikTok, so enjoy that, whoever you are. It's like a 14-year-old girl or something. So like follow her if you want to. But just at Intranetgirl on Instagram is really the only place I live.
All right, well, that concludes the interview, and thank you again, and we'll see you next time, everybody.
That's so
Peace
best.
out.
Perfect.